Ruth's story begins in the land of Moab, a territory east of ancient Israel, nestled between the arid deserts and the fertile valleys fed by the rains that sweep across the region. Moab was a land with its own gods, customs, and history distinct from that of Israel, and often at odds with its western neighbor. Yet, it is in this place, among the Moabite people, that Ruth's journey takes root. A journey that would echo through generations and intersect with the greatest stories of faith, resilience, and redemption. The Moabites themselves are a people shrouded in both familiarity and mystery. According to the biblical narrative, Moab was descended from Lot, Abraham's nephew, through his eldest daughter. This lineage, forged in the crucible of survival and exile, placed the Moabites at the edge of the Israelite consciousness. Kin, yet foreign. Rivals, yet share a distant heritage. Their land lay along the trade routes that connected the Levant to Arabia and Africa, and their society was influenced by the flow of travelers, merchants, and ideas from far and wide. Ruth, as a Moabite woman, would have grown up immersed in the rhythms of her people. She would have known the fields of barley and wheat, the rituals of harvest, and the stories of Chemosh, the Moabite god. Her skin, her hair, her features, perhaps more olive than fair, perhaps bearing traces of Africa's sun and the Levant's winds, spoke of the mingling of peoples that the region's crossroads inevitably produced. For Moab was not isolated. Its markets saw goods from Egypt. Its fields were tilled by hands of many origins, and its bloodlines bore the marks of centuries of migration and intermarriage. To consider Ruth's ancestry is to step into the rich tapestry of ancient Near Eastern history, where Africa was never far from the consciousness of those who dwelled in Canaan or Moab. The Nile, the deserts, and the Red Sea formed both boundaries and bridges. Egyptians, Nubians, Cushites, and others traveled, traded, and sometimes settled throughout the region. The family trees of the peoples who lived along these routes, including the Moabites, could easily include ancestors from Africa. The Bible itself references Cushites, descendants of Cush, son of Ham, often identified with Nubia or regions south of Egypt, living among the Israelites and their neighbors. Intermarriage and migration were natural in times of famine, war, and opportunity. Ruth's story begins in earnest when famine strikes Bethlehem, the house of bread, in the land of Judah. Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their two sons Mahlon and Chilion leave their home and journey to Moab, seeking sustenance and survival. It is here in Moab that Ruth first enters the biblical narrative, not as a distant foreigner, but as a young woman who catches the eye of one of these Israelite sojourners. She marries Mahlon, binding her fate to a family from Bethlehem and setting in motion a tale that would reshape the destinies of both her people and Israel. Tragedy, however, soon shadows their lives. Elimelech dies, leaving Naomi a widow in a foreign land. Then both Mahlon and Chilion die as well, and Naomi is left bereft, with only her Moabite daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, for company. In that moment, the lines between blood and belonging, ancestry and choice, are starkly drawn. Naomi, with nothing left in Moab, resolves to return to Bethlehem. She urges Ruth and Orpah to stay in Moab, to seek new husbands among their own people, to reclaim some measure of security. Orpah, with tears and regret, ultimately chooses to remain. But Ruth, in one of the Bible's most famous declarations of loyalty, refuses to leave Naomi's side. "Where you go, I will go," she pledges. "Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." In that moment, Ruth's identity is transformed, not by birth, but by choice, by faith, and by love. She becomes both Moabite and Israelite, a bridge between nations, a living testament to the power of commitment that transcends boundaries. As Ruth and Naomi return to Bethlehem, they are met with curiosity and suspicion. Ruth is a Moabite, a foreigner, and her arrival with Naomi is the subject of gossip and uncertainty. Yet it is precisely her otherness, her willingness to cross borders of culture, faith, and blood that sets the stage for redemption. The fields of Bethlehem become the stage for Ruth's next chapter. The law of gleaning, enshrined in Israelite tradition, allows the poor and the foreigner to gather the leftover grain at harvest. Ruth, determined to provide for Naomi, goes out to glean in the fields, her presence a living reminder of Israel's own past as strangers in a strange land. It is here that she meets Boaz, a man of standing in Bethlehem and a relative of Naomi's late husband. Boaz is struck by Ruth's devotion to Naomi and her courage as a foreigner in a new land. He instructs his workers to treat her kindly, to leave extra grain for her, and to welcome her among the gleaners. In a society where lineage and purity of blood often determined one's worth, Boaz's kindness to Ruth is an act of grace and inclusion. In time, as Naomi counsels Ruth to seek Boaz's protection and favor, the two are married and Ruth's place in the community is sealed. Their union produces a son, Obed, who becomes the father of Jesse, who in turn becomes the father of David, Israel's greatest king. Thus Ruth, a Moabite woman, possibly carrying African ancestry, certainly carrying the legacy of many peoples, becomes the great-grandmother of David, and an ancestor of the line that would, according to Christian tradition, lead to Jesus of Nazareth. Ruth's story, then, is not just one of individual loyalty or familial love. It is a story that challenges and expands the boundaries of ancestry, belonging, and identity in ancient Israel. Her Moabite heritage, with all its implications of difference and otherness, is not erased but embraced. The Bible goes out of its way to record her origins, to highlight her foreignness, and to trace the royal line of David through her. The question of Ruth's African blood is both historical and symbolic. Historically, the Moabites, as a people living at the crossroads of Africa and Asia, certainly would have had contact with African peoples. The ancient world was not as insular as we sometimes imagine. Trade routes ran from Egypt and Nubia up through Sinai and into Canaan. Armies marched, slaves were taken, and alliances were forged. The genetic tapestry of the region was a living mosaic, and it is both plausible and likely that African ancestry was present among the Moabites, just as it was among the Israelites and other ancient peoples. Symbolically, Ruth's inclusion in the line of David, and by extension, in the spiritual heritage of Judaism and Christianity, serves as a profound statement about the universality of faith and the permeability of boundaries. Her story is a reminder that the lines we draw between peoples are often far less significant than the choices we make, the loyalties we forge, and the faith we embody. Through the generations, Ruth's legacy has resonated in ways both subtle and profound. Her story has been retold in synagogues and churches, in literature and art, as an emblem of loyalty, kindness, and courage. For those who have felt themselves outsiders, by blood, by culture, by circumstance, Ruth's journey from Moabite stranger to matriarch of Israel offers hope and affirmation. Her African blood, whether literal or metaphorical, is a reminder of the deep interconnectedness of humanity. It speaks to the ways in which identity is always a blend of ancestry and action, inheritance and choice. Ruth's presence in the royal line of David is not an accident or a footnote. It is a deliberate affirmation that greatness can arise from unexpected quarters, that the outsider can become the cornerstone, that the story of a people is richer for its diversity. As we reflect on Ruth's life, we are invited to see in her story a microcosm of the broader human journey, a journey marked by movement, mingling, and the breaking down of barriers. Her choice to leave Moab, to embrace Naomi and the God of Israel, to brave the uncertainties of a new land, is echoed in the journeys of countless others, across continents, across centuries, across the boundaries that divide. In the end, Ruth's legacy is not just in the blood that flowed in the veins of David, but in the example she set, of steadfast love, of open-hearted faith, and of the courage to step beyond the familiar in pursuit of something greater. Her story is a reminder that the roots of greatness often run deep and wide, drawing nourishment from many sources, and that the true measure of a person is found not in the accidents of birth, but in the choices they make and the lives they touch. So, as we trace the lineage of David, as we ponder the ancestry of Israel's greatest king, let us remember Ruth, the Moabite, the foreigner, the possible bearer of African blood, whose life and choices shaped a nation and, through the ages, continue to inspire all who seek to bridge the divides of blood, of nation, and of faith. And if you're still here, maybe your soul just got touched in the deepest place. At Tales of Black, every story is a ritual, a reminder that some memories are not written in books, but in bone and blood. If this story stirred something in you, share it with someone still wandering. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. And if there's a legend, a memory, or a haunting you want told, leave it in the comments. Maybe your story is the next one summoned in the ritual.